Last week, we spoke about living in the land of both and. How in this time when we're dealing with pandemic, we are facing times where we are in extraordinary pain. At the same time, there are people who are quite comfortable. There are people who are feeling quite calm and others who are feeling quite anxious. And how interesting it is to live in this paradoxical and sometimes dissonant time where we can at once be worrying about whether we should get our hair colored at the same time as other people are wondering if they can pay rent. And nowhere does this seem to be more obvious than in what we see out in our planet today. On Wednesday, we celebrated 50th anniversary, the golden anniversary of the inception of Earth Day. And no one could have predicted an Earth Day quite like this one. For years, environmentalists, the Greta Thunbergs, the David Suzukis, the environmental activists and scientists who are calling for climate awareness, for change in our environment, could never have predicted that it would take a global pandemic to stop us in our tracks. And it is amazing to see the differences between a few months ago even and now in terms of what is happening in our planet. When I first spoke, when I first started talking about this pandemic several weeks ago, I wrote a letter to the congregation about how strange it was to have all of this confusion going on in the human world while we were seeing the planet, the plants bloom and bud, the birds singing, the planet spinning and still experiencing the most beautiful sunsets. It's so strangely dissonant to be in this place. Here, for an example, is New Delhi, India. The first picture taken on the left is a picture on October 28th, 2019. And one can see the smog. And a few months later, that exact same location. Look at the clarity. Here's another example. This is in Europe, particularly in Italy. The top shows March to April 2019 of nitrogen dioxide emissions, which is the emissions that come from cars and from production plants. And then the bottom picture is from the 13th of March to the 13th of April of this year. And one can notice the difference in the emissions, particularly in Italy, in Milan, which is 47% down in emissions, in Paris, which was 54% down. And one more for you. That is China during its lockdown on the right, and on the left-hand side, the beginning of January of this year. Again, nitrogen dioxide levels. New York, the eastern seaboard. I don't need to belabor this. It's pretty clear that when we stopped, the earth had a chance to breathe again. Not only that, we saw some really interesting things happen with our animals once we two-legged animals got out of their way a little bit. We see turkeys wandering the streets of Baton Rouge, deer in Japan and in England wandering the streets, much as they do in Banff here in Canada. And we human animals are also enjoying a break, or have the opportunity for a break. A time where we can connect with our families and extended families in new and meaningful ways. And it's as if this is an opportunity for us to reflect and anticipate what we want when we move forward out of this time where we need to be physically distancing. In this week of Earth Day, what can we learn from these images that we're seeing? What can we learn from the values that we're clarifying? How do we walk more lightly on the earth? Well, my suggestion is that there are two areas that we can work in both our physical as well as in our inner emotional lives. In the physical world, we have discovered that we don't need as much as we thought we did. By staying home, by going out maybe once a week or once every 10 days or even every 5 days, and limiting our exposure to other people and to this virus, we've also significantly changed how much we're emitting. By going out only for the things we need and finding creative ways to work at home, to do what we're doing now, we're actually making a big difference to the planet. Now, I'm not suggesting that when life gets back to normal, remember, normal is just the setting on the washing machine. I'm not suggesting that we all stay in our homes as we are now, because the thing we have recognized is how much we value our physical connection. But perhaps we can be more intentional when we go back to that new normal. And maybe we could drive a little less. Maybe we could just be more aware of the imprint we make whenever we get into a vehicle or a plane or a ship. The other place where I think we could do a lot is with plastic. It is said that by 2050, which is 30 years from now, the weight of plastic in the ocean will overtake the weight of fish in the ocean. Isn't that appalling? I smile because I don't even know what to do with that. It's appalling. And so one of the things we might consider doing is reducing our use of single-use plastics and making a new commitment to reusing rather than throwing away. And then one of the other things we note in this nitrogen dioxide going down is that consumption, how much we spend on stuff, has reduced. And maybe one of the things we can learn is to less. Be okay with less. Live a little simpler. Give the earth a break. So those are just a few things that I can think of that we can do that are physical, practical steps to protect our planet. The other idea that I have for honoring our planet on the outside is to go outside, is to praise the planet. I want to show you this picture. Look at the perfection. Look at the perfection in a pine cone, in the order of leaves that are designed to capture the maximum amount of moisture and sunlight. When last did you go for a walk? When last did you take a moment to look and appreciate the beauty of nature? Walk. Live, love, experience, watch a sunset, watch a sunrise. Take a look at the moon and glory at its beauty. That also is a way to honor our planet, because what we appreciate appreciates. So there are some physical ideas to walk more lightly on the earth. Reduce plastic, drive less, consume less. And one of the ways to walk more lightly on the earth is to appreciate, is to look and be amazed at the wonder of our beautiful, beautiful blue dot. And then I want you to think in terms of that beautiful nature, that beautiful awareness of the abundance around us. And see it in ourselves. Because we tend to have this notion that nature is out there. That it's a beautiful day, that the whales might be breaching, that the birds might be chirping, that the deer might be coming into our streets. And isn't that lovely? That's all nature. And I want us to think about the fact that we are part and parcel and one with nature. Nature does not stop at us. Our way shower, Jesus, suggested this in his Sermon on the Mount. He said, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or what you will drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothing? Look at the birds of the air, they neither sow nor reap nor gather into barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of more value than they? And can any of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your span of life? Why do you worry about your clothing? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. Yet I tell you, even Solomon in all his glory was not clothed like one of these. As we speak about protecting our planet physically, one of the things we want to be aware of is how we protect each other and ourselves. We are part of the planet. We are part of nature. And so we want to ensure that we are protecting ourselves because we are expressions of the planet. And I want to share with you information about the Heart Math Institute. If you have never heard of it, please take some time in the next week or two to go onto heartmath.com and investigate. It was founded in 1991 by Doc Childre, and it has done research on the effects that humans can have on the global magnetic field. We talk about us being magnetic beings, that we are energy. We know that the planet itself has magnetic resonance. And what the Heart Math Institute has discovered is that we can affect the energy of the surroundings around us. We can affect the energy in a room. And their research is starting to show that what we do can have effects not just on the room, but on the greater room. A real indication that we are truly interconnected. Let me read some of what they say. Quote, HeartMath's research on personal, social, and global coherence shows how we can become more empowered directors of our future and the quality of our lives. As more of us cooperate and connect from the heart, together we can create a more compassionate world filled with true care and harmonious interactions. The heart generates the largest rhythmic electromagnetic field, one that is approximately 100 times stronger than the brain's field. The heart's magnetic field can be detected several feet from the body. And then they go on to say, HeartMath has also found that there is a direct relationship between the heart rhythm patterns and the spectral information encoded in the magnetic field radiated by the heart. Thus, we believe information about a person's emotional state is encoded in the heart's magnetic field, communicated through the body and into the external environment. An energetic field is formed among individuals in groups, through which communication among all the group members occurs simultaneously. In other words, there is an actual group field that connects all the members. Now, I know that sounds like a lot of gobbledygook, but in plain language, what the Heart Math Institute is saying is that each of us has a magnetic field. And when our magnetic fields work together, they become more powerful than 1 + 1 = 2. And that at some point there will be, when enough people are sharing that same magnetic field and building on it, it's like a switch gets turned on, and all are sharing in that same knowledge and same field. So why am I talking about this to you today? It's because when we're speaking about taking care of our earth, one of the ways we can do that is to love, is to change our magnetic field ourselves so that we are adding to life, to adding with appreciation, with peace, with awe, with joy. We take care of each other and our individual selves when we are what they call resonant, when we are in that place where we are expanded and feeling open. It is a way to protect not just our planet, but our people. And so I invite you to consider your energetic field. What are the words you are saying to yourself? What are the feelings and emotions that you are experiencing? And is there some way that you can take one more step towards being more loving, more open, more expansive? When you do so, you are physically protecting yourself, others, and the planet. And then my second, protect and praise. Praise yourself. Look in the mirror and see the wonder that you are. We look at a baby, we look at an infant, and we see the miraculous beauty. We see a toddler and how cute they are. We see kids when they're starting to learn and get excited about finding connections in mathematics or in history or in creating puzzles. And we get so much joy from watching these children as they light up. I invite you to consider that you are as whole, as perfect, as beautiful as any one of those lovely children that we get so much joy from watching. When I say walk lightly on the earth, I talk about not just how we consume, protect, and praise our planet out there, but also how we praise and protect our planet, our earthly home, the place where you and I reside, emotionally as well as physically. Emotionally as well as physically. Protect, praise, walk lightly on the earth. One of the easiest ways to do that is to look for the good. And you all who know me know that this is my favorite Bible passage. It's from Philippians 4, verse 8. And it reads, "Finally, my brothers, whatever things are true, whatever things are honest, whatever things are just, pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. We are caretakers of the earth. We are caretakers of the planet and the beings on the planet. What can you do to take care of the planet? What can you do to be a caretaker for others? What can you do to be a caretaker for yourself? Here is an image taken from Voyager 2 in 1990 of our little planet. On the far right, you'll see a stream of shadowy light, and about midway in the screen, you'll see a little dot. That dot was coined by Carl Sagan as the pale blue dot, our home. I read to you what he said. Look again at that dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives. The aggregate of our joy and suffering, thousands of confident religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines, every hunter and forager, every hero and coward, every creator and destroyer of civilization, every king and peasant, every young couple in love, every mother and father, hopeful child, inventor and explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there, on a mote of dust, suspended in a sunbeam. The earth is a very small stage in a vast cosmic arena. Think of the rivers of blood spilled by all those generals and emperors, so that in glory and triumph they could become the momentary masters of a fraction of a dot. Think of the endless cruelties visited by the inhabitants of one corner of this pixel, on the scarcely indistinguishable inhabitants of some other corner. How frequent their misunderstandings, how eager they are to kill one another, how fervent their hatreds. Our posturings, our imagined self-importance, the delusion that we have some privileged position in the universe are challenged by this point of pale light. Our planet is a lonely speck in the great enveloping cosmic dark. In our obscurity, in all this vastness, there is no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves. The earth is the only world known so far to harbor life. There is nowhere else, at least in the near future, to which our species could migrate. Visit? Yes. Settle? Not yet. like it or not, for the moment, the earth is where we make our stand. It has been said that astronomy is a humbling and character-building experience. There is perhaps no better demonstration of the folly of human conceits than this distant image of our tiny world. To me, it underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly with one another and to preserve and cherish the pale blue dot, the only home we've ever known. I invite you to close your eyes with me if that is comfortable, and to consider our physical world. How can I walk more lightly on this planet? How can I protect it and take care of it and nurture this pale blue dot? How can I praise it? How can I spend more time appreciating the beauty around me? What can I do to commit to both protecting and praising this beautiful earth? And as I consider that physical earth, I consider the earth within me, that I am part of this nature, part of this earth. And what can I do to protect and praise myself and the people around me? How can I increase my appreciation for myself? How can I protect myself from the voices that might question if I'm doing things correctly? On Earth Day, I resolve to walk more peacefully, both within and without. I walk more lightly on the earth. This Earth Day, I take time to recognize that I have a responsibility to this planet as one of its stewards. The abundance of God is all around me. As new leaves sprout and the flowers come into bloom again, I am awestruck the majesty of the mountains, the songs of the birds, the oceans, lakes, rivers, and the plentiful land replete with delicious vegetables and fruits. A kingdom shared with animals of all kinds. They are a part of me just as I am a part of the world that I inhabit. We are one. My eyes are open to the oneness of all life. I fully accept with ease and grace my role as a caretaker. I care for my surroundings not just for my sake, but for all who dwell here in the present and for generations to come. I am blessed to be a caretaker of the earth.